I have a new program where you can do your genetics, and we take that and create a personalized wellness plan for you. And that will be part of the year-long program that I'm creating. So I'm trying to do this sort of piece by piece. And I used to do these genetic interpretations. Gosh, it's probably been 5 or 6 years ago. But the program I trained in, I mean, your genes don't change. So a lot of the gene SNPs were the same, but the report that it spit out was 37 pages long. And then I would have to sit down and interpret that and try to make a plan for somebody. And it literally would take me all day. So there was no way for me to really make that cost effective for people. And so I stopped doing it. But this new report is much simpler to understand. It doesn't take me nearly as much time. I'm still working out how many sessions it needs to be, and I'll talk at the end about what it currently is. But, for people who do it like up front, well, early on in the game, if we need more sessions to get through everything, or you give me feedback and I know I need to tweak something, I'm not going to charge you for more of my time just because we need more sessions. I want it to be a good experience. I want to be able to use this in the context of all the other things I do, because I think it's that important. So, what I think we should start with is just a little bit of the lingo of genetics, because you hear different terms thrown around and they mean different things, and they all have GENE in them. So let's talk about that. So genetics, your genetics are that fixed set of DNA that you inherit from your parents, whereas epigenetics, which epi means above, looks at how environmental factors influence how your genes are expressed. So let's say, for instance, because people generally know what this one is, you have an MTHFR variant. So what is an MTHFR variant? It affects the way your body, for the most part, processes B vitamins. It does some other things, but simply put, that's the easiest thing. And just because you have a particular variant of a gene doesn't mean that it's being expressed. So expressed means turned on. So that is why it's important to know what's there and then design a lifestyle plan around that to keep the genes that have the potential to have negative consequences from being turned on. So another one that you may or may not have heard of is the ApoE4 gene. So somebody who has 2 copies of ApoE4 has a higher risk of getting Alzheimer's than people who have different genetic variants of that. But we can do things like limit saturated fat, or make sure that you're exercising enough and doing the things that you need to do to keep that one turned off. So that's what epigenetics is. It's about the turning on or turning off of things. So genetics is the code. Epigenetics is how the code is read and interpreted. So let's see. Then there's nutrigenomics. So nutrigenomics, sorry, these are all a little tongue twisters, is the field of study that looks at how nutrients and genes and health outcomes are related. So it looks at how specific dietary changes can influence gene expression and metabolism. So this ultimately affects your susceptibility to disease and your overall well-being. So it really includes vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytochemicals, which are plant-based chemicals, how they interact with genes and the genetic function. So this is one of the areas where we can take your genetics and create a personalized nutrition plan for you. that allows your body to take advantage of the positive genetics that you have while minimizing the negative variants that you may have. So I think I've told this story before. In fact, it may have been the last time we got together. I had a client that I did my old genetics program for, and she was doing a low carb diet. She was exercising a lot, and she was really frustrated because she wasn't losing any weight because she was sure that a low carb diet was the way to go. Well, as it turns out, she actually needed a diet that had more than 150 grams of carbs per day to lose weight. So she completely had it backwards. And had we not done those genetics, we would never have seen that. We also wouldn't have seen that she wasn't lactose intolerant, but she had a sensitivity to dairy, which was causing inflammation in her body. So we flipped all those around and she started losing weight. So I'm going to show you mine in just a minute because I have a very high propensity to have inflammation. So this is something that I definitely need to get on top of, but I don't go ahead. And then there's pharmacogenomics. And so pharmacogenomics allows us to look at your DNA and understand how your genetic variants affect how you're going to respond to certain medications. So, for instance, there are people in the world who metabolize pain medications very quickly. So they need higher doses of pain meds, like if they're having a surgical procedure or whatever, to keep them comfortable. Another area where it's commonly used is in the world of antidepressants. And so we can look at somebody's genetic variants and say, this antidepressant is unlikely to work for you, so we're going to do this one instead. And then there are some that are sort of middle of the road that we probably wouldn't try first, but it might work. So that's that's a whole different kind of thing. So the test I'm currently starting to use is called 3x4 genetics, or they call it 3x4. I call it 3x4. I don't know what is actually right. It's not a test that tells you anything about your ancestry. So, Ancestry.com and 23andMe, they both look at, where did you come from? And they do have some medical kinds of things in there, but this particular one has nothing about your ancestry. It also doesn't give you any scary diagnoses, so it's not going to tell you if you have the breast cancer gene. It's not going to tell you if you're at risk of getting Huntington's chorea, which is a breakdown of hello. It causes muscle weakness and you ultimately die. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. And it's genetic, and it's something that that some people have it running in their family. Most people don't want to be tested for it because they don't want to know that they have it. And then I guess the closest thing to something that, might impact you in old age would be the increased likelihood of Alzheimer's with the ApoE4 gene. So the focus of this is actually on nutrigenomics. We can take some of your data and maybe make some inferences about how you would respond to certain drugs based on your liver enzyme genes. And so that's one of the things that I do when I look at somebody's liver enzyme genes. So the biggest areas that I think you guys would be interested in learning about, and I'm going to tell you kind of all that you can learn, is weight loss. So, you spend time, effort, energy, money on trying different weight loss plans. They may or may not work for you. But the genes are able to give you insight into what do your macros need to be. So what do your carbs, fats, and protein need to be? Do you have sensitivities to wheat or dairy? It'll also tell you what type of exercise is best for you. So I am not an endurance gal. I'm a power gal. So lifting weights is good for me. Um, but I'm never going to be running any marathons because I just don't have the right kind of muscle fibers for that. And I also need an extended period of time between my workouts to recover. So my trainer and I are in the process of figuring out, okay, what is the best schedule for me? I really want to go 3 days a week and work out with him, but that may not actually be the thing that gets me the best results. So we're working that out. Another thing that it can help with is optimizing your metabolism. So, I have a propensity toward insulin resistance. My body doesn't burn fat very efficiently. So I'm kind of on the sluggish side. And so giving us insight into that can help us do things that are going to help you burn your fat more efficiently, speed up your metabolism, make sure your mitochondria are getting all the love they need and that you have the nutrients on board to be able to convert the food you take in and use it for fuel very efficiently. And then another area of particular interest for y'all would be hormone balance. So we can look at your genetics and say, hey, you don't break down estrogen very well by virtue of this COMT SNP. That's also something that the Dutch test will tell us. And we can also get some insights into how your body breaks down cortisol. So there's just a lot that goes into it. And it also can guide us to look at, excuse me, if there are other types of functional testing that would be of benefit to you to really flesh out what might be there. So the thing that comes to mind is a lot of people, well, not a lot. Some people don't make vitamin B12 very well. Some people can't convert sunlight to vitamin D very well. Some people can't convert the raw materials to make vitamin A into the active vitamin A. And so we can see that on the genetics, and then we might say, okay, an organic acid test would be of benefit for you because it would show us more about your nutritional deficiencies that may be affecting you, or doing blood labs for, say, vitamin A or vitamin C or, whatever, B12. Other areas that we can look at are sleep, detoxification, what supplements you need to support your body, like I just mentioned, memory and brain. So I got a little bit of a surprise on mine with memory and brain. Vascular health, so how likely are you to be affected by inflammation? Again, that was one of my high ones. So let me just show you what this looks like. So what it does initially is to tell you what your top 3 areas of focus on are, areas to focus on are. So inflammation was mine. It does give you some tips for what you can do about that. But why would you want to do all these things? Well, oh, I gotta share my screen. Hold on just a second. Because I'm gonna guess Laura can't see that. Okay. But now I can't see it either. There we go. So the way I have my program set up, we do an initial health history review so that I have the information about what you currently eat, how you live your life, so that I can look through all of this and say, okay, I feel like these 3 or 4 things would be the most beneficial for you to get the most bang for your buck. So let's try this. So I personally have made some efforts. I do a lot of this already. I don't eat gluten. I do eat some dairy. I do eat some saturated fat. And for my body, I need to have less than 10% of my daily calories as saturated fat. And that is very, very hard to do. So I have not been super successful with that. This says that I would benefit from intermittent fasting. I have tried that before and it doesn't do anything for me. What I did do is add these SPMs. So SPMs are like a concentrated form of fish oil that are good for inflammation. I already take vitamin D, I take zinc, and I don't do these other ones yet. So I think it's easy to see how you could become overwhelmed with this very, very quickly. And that's why I feel like working with somebody to help you design a plan that feels doable and effective is the way to go. So another one of my pathways that this was the one that surprised me because it didn't show up the first time I did my genetics, and we may just not have been testing the right SNPs. So I don't have ApoE4. I am an ApoE33, which is the most common variant that there is in the ApoE world. But apparently I'm at risk for having memory issues down the road. So this will definitely be an area that I focus on. I have not gotten to at least the supplement part of this yet. I do the exercise. I do finally sleep well with hormones. I'm not exposed to toxins that I know of, although I do have 4 mercury fillings in my mouth. So I might think about getting those removed by a biologic dentist. And then it says that my blood pressure pathway is high. Well, I've never had high blood pressure in my life, so I'm kind of poo-pooing this one because it doesn't really apply to me. I know that my blood pressure is good. So then these are all the gene SNPs that it tests. And this will mean nothing to anybody, but it does tell you which ones are protective, all of the ones that don't make any difference, and then the ones that are high. So for me, for whatever reason, I have a deletion of this GSTM1, and this is the one that's most impactful from an inflammation and failure to burn fat efficiently. I also have a DAO variant that could lead me to have issues with histamine, which I do not have, which is good. And then COMT, I already knew about this one. So this causes me to break down dopamine very quickly. So the GGs break dopamine and estrogen down very quickly. The AAs, they're the more anxious types and have more sluggish metabolism of estrogen. And then it gives you the medium ones. So anything that's got a CYP is a liver enzyme. Then it takes the pathways and looks at their impact and what things are likely to be problems. So I'm one of these people that, I could exercise 7 days a week as hard as I could go, and my body probably wouldn't respond in the way I would hope if I was exercising that hard. So, I do what I can, but this tells me that there's no reason for me to kill myself because I'm just not genetically wired to get, ripped and build a lot of muscle. It's just not going to happen. I do, however, create fat cells very effectively, so I don't like that. And then recovery from exercise, like I said, it takes me longer. I'm at moderate risk for injury. This is one of the reasons I like to work with a trainer is because I count on him to make sure that my form is good and it doesn't, and it prevents me from hurting myself. He is a physical therapist. So if I do hurt myself, he's going to be able to fix me. So that's good. Um, and then it gives you a visual representation of the information that basically it just gave you above it. So looks at oxidative stress, detoxification. It can tell you things about mood and behavior and whether or not you're predisposed to a lot of mood imbalances. Memory and brain health, histamine overload we talked about. And then hormone balance, I have good genes for that. And then glucose and insulin, I'm kind of medium on that. So I might be prone to blood sugar dysregulation. I mean, I try to not eat things that spike my blood sugar a lot. I did, I think I told y'all this. It's probably 6 or 8 months ago. I had the chance to wear a continuous glucose monitoring sensor just to see what different foods did. And literally, it did not matter what I ate. It stayed pretty level even around meal times the whole time. So I don't feel like I have a problem with insulin resistance, even though I'm somewhat predisposed to it. I've had my insulin level checked in blood, and I think it was 3, which is really good. So that's why you have to kind of take data from all the different places and put it all together. Otherwise, you may find yourself, believing that you need to do all of these things, and that's just not how it works. So I may have the genes and they're turned off. I'm not prone to blood clotting. I am prone to high cholesterol, but estrogen has helped me really get that down. I'm also now taking berberine, which I get 2 benefits out of that. First of all, it helps control blood sugar, and second of all, it helps lower blood sugar, cholesterol. Let's see. I don't have blood pressure dysregulation. Bone turnover is likely balanced. Well, I know I have osteopenia, but this tells me the things that I can do to support bone health. I think it's important to know how your genetics play into your bone health. So are you somebody who can't convert sunlight to vitamin D well? That tends to be more common in people of African American descent. And then there are also people that have trouble converting vitamin D2 to D3. D3 is the active form. And then it's also gives you a look at tissue breakdown and repair and how likely you are to have issues with that. Tells you a lot about appetite. I am a creator of inflammatory fat. I store fat. I do all the things with fat. And until recently, I haven't ever had a weight problem, but I can't seem to get rid of this 15 pounds. But it says I'll respond to weight management interventions. So I guess I need to try some different things. Let's see, when it comes to exercise, I'm good on power, not so much on endurance, as you see down here. And then for the exercise section, recovery was the thing I needed to focus on the most. I am it says I'm a moderate metabolizer of caffeine. When I had my genes done the last time, it said I was a slow metabolizer. So I don't know why that would have changed. Although their interpretation of what slow and fast may be could be different than the program I ran my 23andMe genes through. I think I'm a very slow metabolizer of caffeine, so I don't drink anything with caffeine in it after noon. I'm unlikely to be iron overloaded. I need increased choline, but I eat a lot of eggs. If you're gonna get choline supplementation from eggs, that the yolks need to be runny, so they need to be cooked like over medium so that the yolk is still runny. Because if it gets all the way cooked, you lose the choline benefit. I'm not likely to have gluten. Well, I don't have celiac disease. Let's see, vitamin D, I may have a higher requirement. Yes, my vitamin D is always low, so I use 5,000 units a day. I'm not salt sensitive. And I have a reduced ability to use vitamin B12. So that is an area that I need to be supplementing. Okay, so let's see what else. Let's just define some of the terms that are used in the report. I don't think there's anything else that's super interesting in here. But, and then it breaks it all down by pathways, which would probably not be all that interesting and could be overwhelming to somebody who was looking at this. So can you order this by yourself? Yes, you can. You can order one from the company. But I guess the way I look at it, it's probably best to work with somebody who's trained in it, just so that you can have the support, you can go through your health history and figure out, okay, what do I want to focus on? We incorporate your goals and all that so that it doesn't just end up being this massive thing that you're trying to do that ends up being really hard to focus on and stick to.